It is 8:39. Newstalk Sauga 960 Raw. Mike Richards, and as you know, we talked to Lori Kane about a week ago, and we were supposed to on the same day talk to Sheldon Kennedy. Now, here's the shocking news about this, and Sheldon is very lucky because he is being inducted to Canada's Sports Hall of Fame and receiving the Order of Sport, but they just changed the rules last night and said they're also going to include telling time. So. So Sheldon, you got in just in the nick of time.
That's a good one.
yeah. Well, there's the old Eastern time zone bugaboo, but we got that out of the way. And look at how you're dressed. Are you trying to show us up? What's going on over there?
I'm actually off to another meeting right after this, so I figured I didn't know how long we were going, so I better get dressed, ready to go.
Because if you're doing the fields in Saskatchewan, you're gonna have to fight some guys.
Well, the new tractors. I mean, this is the way you farm now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I see the price, how much they cost now. What am I talking? Like probably the ones with the air conditioning and the whole. I mean, we're talking what, like 150,000, maybe more.
For a new combine or new tractor. Well, The new tractors, like the big new John Deeres, are close to $1 million.
$1 million
for one of them, yeah. It's not cheap. We don't run new stuff. We run used stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, it's not cheap, and it's all automatic and auto steer, and yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, look, the
farming has changed.
It certainly has changed.
Very high tech industry.
Well, you'd see the John Deere hat at all the Riders games, right? And go, look at these.
Let's hope to see them again there soon.
Isn't that scary though? I mean, look, the CFL is huge for Dave and myself, always has been, always will be. And it's just part of, look, this is a very, very, very difficult time in our world, period. If it's not for COVID-19 and the pandemic, leading up to that, it was difficult in the prairies, especially in Alberta. It's also what makes a Westerner a Westerner. It's the understanding of what happens in the prairies. I think, at least for myself, Dave, of course, being from Manitoba, there is something intrinsically, I would say, it's in the DNA of someone in the West to take a lousy situation, sometimes a desperate one, and turn it into a good one. And no one's done that better, Sheldon, than yourself. It's one of the reasons why you're getting this award.
Yeah. Well, I think that's well put, and that's basically. I remember that's kind of what I was taught, and how do you take a bad situation and try to do good with it, and I mean, who would have thunk, really, like, the issues that I represent and have been advocating for the last 24 years, would actually be looked upon as important to being as part of building sport in our country, to actually be inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. To me, that is what's important about this award. Not so much Sheldon, but it is about the issues that we represent and that are so present today. Abuse, bullying, harassment, discrimination, right? I mean, all of those issues that we learn and have learned over the years and understand today that are critical to building people.
Sheldon, congratulations, first off. When I asked Lori this last week, I was kind of curious your take on it as well. Athletes and people that are inducted into Hall of Fame get that call. Where were you when you got that call, and what did they say to you, and what was your reaction, your initial reaction when you get that awesome moment of life, kind of?
Yeah. Well, it was awesome, and I'm sure you guys know, but if you don't, I have a little 22-month-old little guy,
Okay.
So, my other half is Jen is at the hospital. She's a doctor, so I've been at home wrestling and giving her. So anyway, I was running around with him, and the phone rang, and I'm like kind of picked it up, and it's like, hey, Sheldon, And so I said, Lachlan, and a miracle happened. He actually was quiet for 10 minutes, and the call came in, and I just really didn't know what to say. Because I don't think I've never sought this out. I didn't seek, this. I never saw myself ever as a Hall of Famer, because I guess I kind of considered myself as an athlete. So I figured, well, that was, this ain't gonna happen. But as a builder, I'm very proud of that, and proud of our team. I mean, we've been going at this for a long time, and I think that's, when I got that call, I think the biggest thing that hit me was just a moment of reflection, and reflecting of all the people that have helped me personally, helped us with the issues that we're dealing with, because we were just going through. We were at the farm, we were seeding, and I had a whole semi-load of paraphernalia, old newspaper articles and stuff, and we were, we've had time to actually go through it. We were going through it. I'll tell you what, you go back and look at some of the articles on, back in the day, 97, on Sheldon Kennedy, when I told my story, and society's view of, how dare he bring down the Holy Grail. Like, it was unreal. Like, I kind of forgot about that stuff, because we don't really talk that way about that stuff. We've learned a lot together, I think, over the years. But to me, there's lots of people that have helped, and I think Dave, the call and beyond has really made me reflect and reach out to people I haven't connected with, just to say thank you.
Well, Sheldon, one of the reasons we are talking about it is because of the work that you have done. I mean, the fact that, I think at one point it was called Speak Out. I think it's, Respect in Sport.
Yeah.
And so you would have had back in the day, and not only how dare you, sully and dirty, this institution, but it was a time where, when you're a kid, and let's face it, you're a child, 14, 15 years old, you would have had every inclination to just disappear, to not do anything. In fact, fall off the face of the earth and never be heard from again. That would not have been, and probably wasn't uncommon until you started to talk about it. We know now that through abuse, and those people who, quite frankly, were predators, were able to do that to human beings and destroy lives. And those lives, therefore, because you did shut up about it. You weren't going to talk about it. But yourself, Theo, guys who needed to let the world know. And it's not really, to a degree, that different as we talk about today's issue, where you have protests to talk about the inequality that we find in this world. There is a bravery to coming out and doing it. And it's not so much about, look at me, I want to bring attention to it. I think there's a bigger picture. I know you're being very, very humble right now, because it's who you are. Again, it's part of the Western culture. You're not walking around like you think you're special. You're just trying to get work done. That's what this award to me is about when I look at the people that are on there. Steve Nash is going to go in, and then Steve Nash, obviously we know what his athletic accomplishments are, but his influence on the younger generations, on what to strive for in the area of excellence. That's why you're all getting these it says Order of Sport, but it really, to me, it's / Order of Humanity, because that really, Sheldon, is what you're about. That's the great example that regardless of what goes on from here on in, that's your legacy. That's what you have left.
Well, thank you, Mike. I mean, and I agree. I mean, I think that, if we look at the issues of today, we need to find solutions. And that, to me, is what this is about. We got to have a voice. And I think, we started with a voice, but I think the last, number of years, we've tried to find solutions, and we tried to give tools to people to be better. And I think ultimately that's what change is. And the conversation, and I think that, if I look at sport and I look at hockey, I think we've been able to shift society in the way that we understand this stuff. And I don't ever feel that, are we there? I mean, I don't think there's a finish line when it comes to these types of issues, social issues. I think we need to just continue learning and continue being better. And that's kind of what it is. And this, to me, this is not about perfect. There's not a perfect answer. This is about continually practicing to be better. and and holding people accountable, right? And I think that you nailed it when you said, I think the biggest thing what we know today around these issues is the impact. The incident is the incident, and the incidents happen, and they're all different, but the impact is unreal. And kids that have been abused have 30% higher dropout rates in high school, right? 15 times greater have more attempted suicides. 80% of people in treatment centers have disclosed early childhood abuse. I mean, the list goes on, right? And to me, that's really what we need to deal with. But yeah, I mean, I think sport has a role. I truly believe that. I believe that from day one, to be a leader in the way that we can bring positivity and shift issues that need shifting and changing and teaching in our communities.
Sheldon, can you tell us about the Respect Group Inc. and what you guys do and your involvement with that?
Sure. Well, so when I rollerbladed across the country, we raised $1 million and gave it to the Canadian Red Cross, and at the time, they were the only organization that did any prevention training around child abuse, and they were the ones that wrote the Hockey Canada Speak Out program in 1997, and I was part of that process for 5 years in hockey, trying to rolling that out across the country, and they trained every coach, and it was face-to-face type of prevention program. And I remember Nicholson came to my best friend and business partner, Wayne McNeil, and said, is there any way you guys can put this online? So that's when Wayne and I set out to try to deliver this type of programming online to reach everybody across the country with a consistent language and a consistent platform, so that we can actually start having conversations. Because what we found was these issues, it was different here, and it was different there, and it was different here, and this sport was different than that sport. But at the end of the day, abuse is abuse is abuse. Discrimination is discrimination. Doesn't matter what sport you're in. And so that's where we set out. So Wayne and I set out. There was 3 of us. We funded this on ourselves. We both had other jobs. I was farming and running an equestrian center south of town here in Okotoks, and we went along, and one of our early adopters was Sport Manitoba, Jeff Natchuk, and they made it mandatory for every coach in that province, and it was welcomed with great success, and it grew from there. So Jeff is one of those guys that I talk about early leaders. I look at Bob Nicholson with Hockey Canada. I talk about it, being an early leader, people that had the courage to put this in. And I think the shift that we're talking about is back in the day, like in '97, when Hockey Canada had the Speak Out program. If you had a program like that in place, there was other organizations. We were in lots of meetings that said, "Oh, that's a hockey problem." Right? That's a hockey problem. Yeah. That doesn't happen here. But if you had a prevention program and policies around sexual abuse or any of these types of issues, discrimination, that meant that your organization has problems. And I think over being with the Red Cross, being in front of 5 million kids across this country, the Speak Out program, and us training 1.4 million over the years, it shifted to the younger people who are now parents saying, if this isn't in place, we're not signing our kids up. And that's been the major shift, right? There's an expectation that organizations are doing the right thing when it comes to abuse, bullying, harassment, discrimination, mental health. What do you have in place, right? And what policies and procedures do you have to actually deal with this stuff if it does happen? And that, I think, to shift an organization like that, that took a lot of time.
Well, we're just again thrilled for you, simply because we like to see good things happen to good people. I know for yourself, as you said, this is not you weren't goal driven to say one day. I didn't see it 10 years ago. You know what, Mike? I got a feeling.
Yeah.
I just might get that Canada Hall of Fame thing. Really, Sheldon? I can't believe you're dropping that on me. That was not your intention. And look, as we talk all things, relevant to today, I was crushed, and I understand why, to hear that, no Calgary Stampede. For me, the Chuck Wagons I'm literally a groupie. To watch the Sutherlands, I scream like a teenage girl when the Beatles show up. Like I can't tell you how much the Stampede means to Alberta and K-Day's up in Edmonton. But I mean, that's just part of, and a very small part of a lot of the problems that we've seen out in my beloved province there. So hopefully we see better days, Sheldon, for that. As you said, you just got crop in, and we just and again really hope that we see a nice bounce back for what I think is really the heart of Canada, that being Alberta.
Yeah. Well, I think things are coming around. I mean, I think, with COVID, we're getting a little bit more confidence as a country to get out and start moving around, which I think is important. And I think, in Alberta, we've got a hardy bunch out here, and we will find our way, and we'll keep putting the crop in every year until we get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see you soon, or anybody to see anybody, to be honest. But it's, one of those, right? So you take care. And as I said, hopefully down the road, I'll get a chance to actually see you up close and personal, because I would love that.
Yeah, that would be awesome, Mike. Thank you. And what is the time difference anyway between here and Toronto?
You really don't know. I mean, how many hockey games did you miss in your career? When the coach said, "Where's Kennedy?" It's a different time zone. He's not in Montreal tonight. He's not playing in Montreal.
It had nothing to do with time zone.
Buddy, you take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay, see you guys.
See ya.
That is Sheldon Kennedy. He is in Canada's Hall of Fame and the Order of Sport, and we couldn't have been happier. Today I thought with Dave was just an awesome show. He had three great guys.